What advice would you give to that young Black professional that wants to really venture out on a business or brand opportunity?
Just bet on yourself a little bit more. Do it even when you're scared. Like, that's the best thing to do. And if it doesn't work, you didn't fail. You are learning from an experience.
On today's episode, we'll be speaking with Paola Mathé, founder of Fanm Djanm, a Black-owned head wrap collection and lifestyle brand based right here in Austin, Texas. Let's go inside and check it out. Paola, how are you?
Hi, so good to see you.
Absolutely, thank you for the invite.
So in this area here, we have one of our newest products, maybe our newest product. So this is the Crown Ruched headband. So I wanted to create a headband that was all around elastic, that wouldn't cause friction, and that would be good for Afro hair. This is a special product. It's very different from the head wrap where we started. Our team designed this packaging. We wanted to make the woman or the girl feel special whenever they wore them. So this is our new product. I'm really proud of it, and we're still able to do zero waste with that. This is our head wrap wall, and then we have the African prints, which is how I started in Harlem. That's always going to be at the core of any product that we create. I started with 6 African prints in Harlem in my studio apartment, and now we're here. And right here we don't have a lot of them because they're actually really popular. We have these silk head wraps that I absolutely love. They're perfect for special occasions. They've been worn by supermodel Alima Hayden on the cover of Essence. I was able to fly to New York City to wrap a director for the Met Gala using one of the silk head wraps. And I decided to create those as more of a pricier product because I always say that the head wrap is an accessory you wear to arrive somewhere, to be the statement.
One thing I also do love is that how you add in-store experiences with your product and business. So what is something that you usually do revolving around head wrap workshops?
I think of it as another event versus, yes, you can go to a bar, you can go watch a live performance, but you can also learn how to do something. You can collect a few head wraps, you can bond with your friends or your family members over something intimate, and I think that's special.
Paola, thank you so much for the invitation. You have a beautiful shop, very inspiring. What inspired you to start Fanm Djanm?
Fanm Djanm started out as a personal need. I was cutting up fabrics when I worked at managed these 2 restaurants in Harlem, and I was putting on head wraps, wrapping them around my hair, and they became part of my signature style. And people would stop me all the time asking me where I got them from, and that was 8-9 years ago, right? But the last time that happened, I was on Frederick Douglass. This woman stopped me and said, "Where'd you get your head wrap from?" I said, "Go to the fabric store and, figure out how to wrap it." And she looked at me as if I was not being helpful, like I was keeping information from her, and that was the truth. And I remembered going back home and I started typing head wraps for Black women. Where do I find head wraps, right, on Google? And I couldn't find anything at that time. So I started asking myself more questions. I was like, okay, so you wear head wraps, but if you were to create them for people, what would make them buy them? Why would someone buy a head wrap from you? If they've never worn a head wrap before, what can you do to make them want to buy a head wrap? Or if they have worn head wraps before, then what you're doing is really not that great. So why would they buy a head wrap from you, right? So as I kept asking myself these questions and writing down all of these answers, it just became clearer and clearer that I should do it because I had the answers. And then finally, the last phase was the name of it. I was thinking about, I asked myself, I said, what do head wraps make you feel? How do you feel when you wear a head wrap? And I thought taller, confident. And Nate, I'm telling you right now, I used to be so shy. I couldn't make eye contact with people. I always wanted to be invisible. I used to just like shake if someone noticed me. But whenever I wore a head wrap, I felt taller and I was always able to go along and things worked out, right? And I came up with Fanm Djanm, which means strong woman in Haitian Creole. So then the name came to mind because they were inspired by women who already wrap their heads in Haiti, who work with their hands all the time, who are the backbones of their families, who wrap their heads not because they choose to, because out of necessity, right? So once all of those things were answered, I was like, okay, now we're gonna figure out how to make head wraps. How do we make head wraps, right? So yeah, that's what inspired the company. It was a lot of questions around my personal journey and overall self-discovery.
So prior to starting Fanm Djanm, you moved from Haiti
Yes.
to Newark, New Jersey.
Yes.
How has that experience kind of influenced your creative process and your purpose, especially within navigating uncomfortable spaces or life's transitions?
I was living in this house my family owned for decades. I was living very comfortably. And then my family moved here and we all lived in a one-bedroom apartment in Newark, New Jersey. So it was a huge shock, right? But then you're adding the culture shock of it all. Just like I'm going in and I'm meeting new kids, right? I was tall, I was skinny, I had an accent. You know, there were a lot of things happening, right? Until one day I decided to just own it. Whatever it was. I was just always afraid, but also just owned it. And so people thought I had this confidence that I really didn't have. You know, I was just like, this is who I am, so I'm not going to back down, right? But I'm just gonna be me, no matter what. The work that I create, right, for me, can either be this almost escape, like, what if this Black woman was doing this very simple thing, but it's still like escapism in a way? Or why can't this Black woman or Black girl do this thing? Or why can't we be free at our core? Or why can't we just choose to just go with the wind fully, you know, just let go, just like explode with joy. So I've had campaigns that really promote joy, that promotes sisterhood. Sometimes we're strong and powerful and sometimes we're soft because all of those things mean strength to me. So I think I had to go through all of those different processes and changes that really shook me to my core to go back and kind of explore them and then translate them into the work that I do.
How has marriage and motherhood impacted you as a person and informed your work today?
One of the biggest things that will humble you is motherhood. And one thing I've learned with motherhood is that patience. If you haven't mastered it, you're gonna have to master it then. And I have told someone who asked me recently about giving up on your dreams because you have children, and I don't believe in that. I think there is prioritizing. You prioritize your children, your family, you prioritize different things because you only have so many hours in the day. But then for the things that truly matter, you'll find a way, you will find time. I think we look at creativity in this really narrow sense where we think it has to translate to something either on paper or on a screen versus just how we live. So I choose to also live a creative life, right? When I'm with my children, we do creative things. I look at life in general as this creative thing that we're doing. And that helps me get through because I know that even if I haven't checked this thing when I'm 35, I'm okay with checking it at 45 or 55. But then I'm still practicing creativity as I go along, just in different forms.
You've worked with some of the biggest brands, Met Gala, featured in New York Times, Vogue, Was this something that you've always envisioned for yourself?
Sometimes I'm in situations where I think, what is happening? Why am I on the stage speaking? Or why am I on the set right now? I'm still grasping it all. I've always romanticized my life. I used to just put Trader Joe flowers in little empty Trader Joe's wine bottles, that's pretty in this corner, I don't need the most. But the thing is, I always do the most with what I have, right? So, we'll see where the journey takes me, but I'm happy to be here right now.
What advice would you give to that young Black professional that wants to really venture out on a business or brand opportunity? What are some lessons that you've learned along your journey that you can kind of share to that person that's listening?
Just bet on yourself a little bit more. Do it even when you're scared. That's the best thing to do. And if it doesn't work, you didn't fail. You are learning from an experience.
I remember reading in an article that you mentioned that having a blueprint doesn't necessarily equate to success. At this stage of your life, how do you define your own personal success?
I think it's how I feel when I go to sleep at night, because I don't want to be great to people who don't really know the real me, and then the people closest to me don't really see me that way, or don't really feel loved by me, or don't really know who I am. Honestly, I just really want to live a good, happy life, and I want the people closest to me to feel that and to take that with them.